heard about proffee, otherwise known as protein coffee? This trend is so hot right now. But is adding protein to your coffee really beneficial? Stay tuned to find out. Hey everybody, Erin here with Healthy Mom, Happy Family, and I am so excited to have you here with me today as I am talking about the newest trend, protein coffee, also known as proffee. Now this trend is huge right now on social media, but is adding protein to your coffee really the next best thing like everybody's talking about? Today I am sharing with you all the details that you need to know about protein coffee. Now first, before we dive in, I just want to remind you that if you want tips and tricks on how to manage blood sugar and type 2 diabetes and new recipes, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Okay, so let's talk about all things proffee or protein coffee. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you what protein coffee actually is. And I'm going to be telling you if proffee is actually beneficial to your health, especially when it comes to managing blood sugar levels. Now, finally, stay tuned to the very end because I am going to share with you the best tips and tricks for making your own homemade protein coffee if you want to try this trend out as well. So let's get started. Okay, so I know what you're probably thinking. What the heck is proffee, right? It's kind of a funny term, but it's the nickname for protein coffee. And protein coffee is really exactly what it sounds like. It's coffee plus protein. It's pretty simple, right? Now, before you just throw any source of protein into your coffee, what you want to know about protein coffee is that it's typically made with adding protein powder, either dry powder or a pre-made mix, into your coffee. But the thing is, as trendy as this is right now, do you actually need this protein coffee in your life? Well, the answer is it actually depends, okay? I don't have a straightforward answer because some people can benefit from the protein coffee trend and other people really don't need it. If you are somebody that falls short on getting enough protein each day, this actually can be really beneficial because if you're already drinking coffee, this is a really easy way to help you get in more protein and therefore meet your protein needs. But if you're like most people and you get plenty of protein every day, you don't really need to add extra protein into your coffee. If you like the taste and you enjoy it, go for it. But it's not really necessary if you're already meeting your protein needs. Okay, so let's talk about protein for a second because protein is essential to our body since every cell in our body contains protein and needs protein. So we need to make sure we're getting enough protein into our diet to ensure that we are properly growing and repairing our cells. Protein helps us to build muscle. It's responsible for helping to make things like hormones and enzymes and neurotransmitters. So you get the picture. We need to make sure we're getting enough high quality protein into our day. So if you are somebody that struggles to get in enough protein, we definitely have to look at ways to support you getting in more protein throughout the day. And if you like coffee and you're drinking it anyway, protein coffee can really help you. However, the majority of people do meet their protein needs during the day. So if you are already meeting your needs, you don't necessarily have to jump on this trend, but there are some benefits to adding protein coffee, even if you're already meeting your needs. You see, the one thing about protein is it's really beneficial to people who are trying to improve body composition, lose body fat, or lose weight. Because protein can really help you to feel more satisfied and full after eating it. It takes longer to digest protein than a carbohydrate. So that's why we tend to feel full longer. And it also can help us to maintain our muscle mass. And we know that muscle mass is essential for metabolism because muscle burns more calories during the day than fat. So if you are somebody who is actively trying to maintain a healthy body weight, lose weight, or lose body fat, protein coffee can be beneficial, okay? But what I want you to remember is adding proffee or protein coffee to your breakfast, sure, it can help with these things, but you can get any source of high quality protein at breakfast along with a cup of coffee and still get the benefits. So if you want to have eggs in the morning with black coffee, that's just as beneficial as making protein coffee. Okay, so you don't have to jump on the trend, but if you want to try it out, those are some of the benefits that it can offer. Okay, so I want to talk about this protein coffee trend a little bit more specifically when it comes to type 2 diabetes. Because as I mentioned before, this version of coffee, it can be helpful and it can be harmful depending on who's drinking it. And it's the same when you have type 2 diabetes. For some people, there are some benefits to adding protein to your coffee. But there's a couple really important factors I want you to pay attention to if you're thinking about jumping on this trend, specifically when it comes to blood sugar management. Okay, so the first thing I want you to understand is that protein coffee is not an appropriate substitute for a balanced breakfast, especially if you're trying to manage your blood sugar levels. Okay, I don't want you to just skip breakfast and drink protein coffee and call it a day. Many people think that you can use protein coffee as a meal replacement, but this really isn't true, okay? You're not gonna put in enough protein into the coffee to really make it a quality breakfast that's going to fill you up and manage blood sugar levels. And it's also not gonna be complete in the fact that it's not gonna give you the same vitamins and minerals and macronutrients and fiber as a balanced breakfast could provide when you're incorporating more whole foods. So if you do decide to have protein coffee, I want you to do it in addition to a balanced breakfast and not as a replacement to a balanced breakfast. Now, if you are somebody that drinks coffee or are thinking about starting to drink coffee with diabetes, coffee does contain many health benefits because it's really rich in antioxidants. But there are some downsides for people with diabetes that you have to realize. I actually made a whole video about coffee on this topic of how coffee impacts people with diabetes, so I'll link to it below so you can check it out. But the biggest factor we have to consider is your sensitivity to caffeine. Because for some people, caffeine can cause their blood sugar levels to elevate. And so you want to be aware of that, because if you are somebody who is sensitive to caffeine, you want to make sure you're either consuming decaffeinated coffee or making sure you're keeping your caffeine to a mild or moderate amount so it doesn't start to have a negative impact on blood sugar levels. Okay, and then the last thing you want to think about when it comes to protein coffee is the type of protein you are adding. So we're adding protein powders or pre-made protein drinks into coffee. You have to look at those labels because some protein drinks, some protein powders contain a large amount of added sugars and carbohydrate. And so if you're putting added sugar into your coffee, just like if you were putting added sugar in coffee creamer with diabetes, you'll see a spike in blood sugar. So it's really, really important to read those labels. If you are considering a protein powder or a pre-made protein drink to add to your coffee, look at those labels and look to keep the amount of added sugars as low as possible. Ideally per serving, you want to see 5 grams of added sugar or less. That way it's going to have less of an impact on your blood sugar. Now just remember, it's always important that if you are considering jumping on any new food trend and something like protein coffee, and you're not sure how it's going to impact your blood sugar or if it's right for you, talk to your diabetes care team, talk to your physician and your dietitian for further guidance, because they're going to help you to make the best choice for you as an individual to see how this trend can impact your blood sugar goals. Okay, so if you have decided that you want to give protein coffee a try, here is how to make it. Now, this trend is all over TikTok and Instagram right now, and what you'll see is if you're watching some people make protein coffee, there's really no right or wrong way to make it, but there are a few tips I want you to keep in mind that are going to help you to make the best version of proffee for you. So when it comes to making protein coffee, you really have 2 options. You can use protein powder, or you can use a ready-to-drink protein shake that you can add right into your coffee. Now, when you think about protein shakes and protein powders, they come in so many varieties of flavors, you can really pick what sounds best to you. But like I mentioned before, make sure you read those labels and watch out for large amounts of added sugar or additional carbohydrates that can impact your blood sugar levels. So when you're looking at the nutrition facts panel, make sure you're looking at total carbohydrate, make sure you're looking at added sugars, and try to avoid varieties that have more than 5 grams of added sugar. Less is best here. Now, when you're making proffee, you can make it as a hot coffee, you can make it as an iced coffee, or you can even make it as a cold brew. So it really depends on how you like to drink your coffee. And depending on how you want to make it, how you make it will vary a bit. So if you want to make hot proffee or hot protein coffee, you don't want to add the protein powder directly into a hot beverage, because what happens is many times this will cause it to clump up a bit as you're stirring it. And that's really not ideal when you're drinking it. You want a nice smooth drink. So if you want to put protein powder into a hot cup of coffee, there's a couple things you can do. First, you can take your protein powder and you can mix it with a small amount of milk or even water in a shaker bottle first, so that you're making it already a liquid, and then you can pour that slowly into your hot beverage. Now, if you don't want to do that or you don't have that option, you can also add the protein powder directly into your coffee, but just do it little by little, very tiny amounts, stirring constantly, because you want to make sure it dissolves completely and doesn't leave any kind of clumps and lumps. Now, the other option you could do is you could even put the hot coffee into a blender with the protein powder and blend it up to make a nice frothy coffee drink. But if you do this, just make sure that your blender supports hot beverages. Not every blender does. And so you want to be sure that your blender is prepared to take on that hot temperature beverage. And that's another way you can blend up a hot protein coffee. But the easiest way when we're talking about making hot protein coffee is just to get a pre-made, ready-to-drink protein drink, and then you can pour it right into your coffee just like you would add a creamer. So pick out one that doesn't have a large amount of added sugar, that you like the flavor of, and you can add that into your coffee as well. Okay, so maybe you want to make some iced protein coffee, and this is how you do it. This version's a little bit easier because you don't necessarily have to worry about the powder or the liquid clumping because protein powder dissolves better in cold liquids versus hot liquids. So this version is definitely quicker, especially if you're trying to make this on a really busy morning. So all you have to do is you can just take a chilled beverage or room temperature coffee, and even if you want to make a cold brew, you can do that too. But you're just going to mix in your protein powder, just like you would mix it into any other liquid. And you could use a spoon, you could use a handheld milk frother, bottle shaker, you can even use the blender, and then you just add your ice. And when you do that, you have this delicious iced proffee. Okay, so what's the bottom line on protein coffee? Should you really jump on that proffee trend? The answer is it depends. If you love the taste of protein coffee or you need to add a little more protein into your diet, this can be a really fun way to do it without a negative impact on blood sugar levels. But if you do add it, just make sure to choose a protein powder or a pre-made protein drink that has little to no added sugar. And if you don't drink coffee already, make sure you monitor your blood sugar to see if you have a response to caffeine. And if your blood sugar does tend to go up because of caffeine, reduce the amount of caffeine or choose a decaffeinated coffee instead. And the most important thing to remember is when you have type 2 diabetes and you're trying any new food, monitor your blood sugar often to see the response you have to protein coffee. And if it keeps your blood sugar in check, then it's fine to add to your routine on a regular basis as long as you like it. But I do want you to remember, if you don't love protein coffee, there's no reason to drink it. Just focus on incorporating high quality protein sources throughout your day to make sure you're meeting your needs. And your protein does not have to come in the form of a beverage. You can have protein with your meals from a variety of sources, both plant-based as well as animal-based, and you can still manage your blood sugar levels. So if you like coffee and you like adding protein to it, go for it, but don't jump on the trend unless you enjoy it. So tell me what you think. Have you tried the proffee trend? And what did you think? Did you like it? Are you going to continue to add protein into your coffee? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss new tips, tricks, and recipes. Thanks for joining me.